A very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you to this unique and special event. We literally have a crowd, and a wonderful crowd from all over the world. The States, Israel, Europe, Africa, each and every one of you are so welcome. Especially our beloved Holocaust survivors, and I'm thrilled to see both Pinchas, Goethe, and Eva Schloss in the audience. I've spent a wonderful few days with Eva recently, and it's absolute delight to have you with us, as it always is to have Pinchas with us and other survivors. I'm welcoming the trustees, the teams, and the volunteers from each of our 3 centers in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban. I'm sure most of you know me. I'm Mary Kluk. I'm the director and founder of the Durban Holocaust and Genocide Center, and it is indeed a very special occasion. Welcome to the many, many friends who have joined us. On behalf of the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation, which, as you know, includes the 3 centers, 3 Holocaust and Genocide centers, I'm so pleased and privileged to have this opportunity to host the tribute that we have to our dear friend and colleague, Tali Nates. Tali established the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center from humble early beginnings, while the magnificent center was being created and then constructed. Many of us were witness to this incredible journey, which was not always easy, but oh, so worthwhile. I'm personally so grateful for the constant sharing of her knowledge and wisdom that Tali has done for me. And while Tali has been slowly but surely building the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, she has established herself as a leader and scholar in the world of Holocaust education, memory, and remembrance. And we are all so proud of you, Tali. I'm delighted to begin my introduction with a message from the chairman of the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center Board of Trustees, Michael Katz, who is in New York City at the moment and unable to be with us. And I will read now Michael's message. Regrettably, I can't attend the function as I'm in New York this week. Let me place on record how much I regret my absence. In my respectful opinion, Tali is a national and communal treasure. Her work on behalf of the Holocaust and Genocide Foundation has been staggering. She has made a huge contribution to the construction of our center and the running of it thereafter. Her commitment knows no bounds. She's internationally recognized, and for good reason. She's knowledgeable, generous in her contribution, and displays great humility. As chairman of the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, it is a privilege to have her as our chief executive. We are proud of her and grateful she is receiving this further recognition, in addition to the many she has received. Well done, Tali. The idea for this evening is twofold. First and foremost, to honor Tali and express our collective pride in her extraordinary achievements. But the other idea is for Tali to share her amazing experiences in Europe in August, which had, in fact, 2 parts. An incredible week-long program culminating in the Goethe Medal award ceremony in Germany. And then in Austria, as part of our wonderful Austria Service Abroad program, which culminated in her addressing the Austrian Parliament. Daniel Schuster, who runs the international affairs for the Austrian Service Abroad organization, sent me this poignant message to read this evening. And I noticed that you're here and it's great to have you with us. Thank you for being here, Daniel. And I read this message and quote, "When looking at Tali, the notions of peace and reconciliation immediately emerge in my mind. Her center not only accepts young Austrians who are descendants of former perpetrators, but she even went on a Poland Holocaust study trip with us, accompanied by a group of participants from Austria and South Africa. Together, we visited places where her relatives were murdered. We all felt very sorry for what had happened and were deeply moved by this experience. The act of Tali taking such a group on such a tour is an expression of kindness, peace, and reconciliation from Tali that we Austrians do not take for granted. She shared this experience in the panel conversation she had in the Austrian Parliament. We thank Tali for creating many such symbols that touch the hearts of people through her daily work and effort. Tali was awarded the globally prestigious Goethe Medal, an official badge of honor of the Federal Republic of Germany and the most important prize in its foreign culture policy. The medal honors personalities who are particularly committed to international culture exchange or teaching the German language. The candidates are nominated by the Goethe Institutes around the world in close coordination with the German missions abroad. I am so pleased that Klaus Krischock, the Regional Director of the Goethe-Institut for Sub-Saharan Africa, is here with us this evening to say a few words. Klaus, who features in the beautiful photograph on the invitation of Tali receiving her award, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mary. Good evening, bonsoir, erev tov, guten Abend, buenas tardes, wherever you are from Johannesburg. I hope you can all hear me. The internet is a little bit shaky tonight. And thank you very much, Mary, for your warm words. I'm not so sure about the photograph. As long as Tali likes it, I'm happy with it. No, that's the main thing. Mary, you've already brought the Goethe Medal into context. But one thing that you haven't mentioned is a few names of previous winners of the Goethe Medal. And some of those names may ring a bell with many of you. I just quote a few. Pierre Boulez, Karl Popper, Daniel Barenboim, Daniel Liebeskind, Ian McEwan, and for our Austrian friends, Billy Wilder. They were past recipients of the Goethe Medal. Well, if you listen closely, you may have noticed that there weren't too many women on this list that I just quoted. If you look up the entire list on Wikipedia, you still don't find too many women. And the other issue that I discovered when I arrived in 2019 is there weren't too many Africans on this list. So secretly, or not so secretly, it was my little strategic plan to change this just a little bit, as much as you can. So as the Goethe-Institut for Sub-Saharan Africa, we nominated women from Sub-Saharan Africa. And lo and behold, in 2020, the Goethe Medal went to Zukiswa Vanna. She's a Zambian-born, but author and curator who lives in South Africa and in Nairobi. And she was awarded for her great work on literary exchange between Germany, Europe, and Africa. In 2021, we nominated, and she also won, Princess Marilyn Dwala Mangabell, who is a descendant of Rudolf Bell, an eminent figure in Cameroon who was murdered by the then colonial forces in Germany. And Princess Marilyn has done wonderful things in the field of visual arts and curatorship. But secretly, I always had Tali in mind. And I said, well, you have to finish with Tali. You have to bring Tali into the race. So I said, well, let's try this. And from all I know, it was a very, very easy decision taken by the jury of the 2020 Goethe Medal. Tali and I talked to them, and they were very convinced that Tali would be an absolutely perfect winner for the Goethe Medal, not just because she hails from Africa, not just because she's a woman, but as we all know, because Tali has incredible merits that Mary has just mentioned, not only in the remembrance of the Holocaust, even though this, rightly so, is the first title of the center and the foundation that we all join around here. But, and there I took a bit of a risk in also telling it in the right relationship, the story of other genocides in Africa. And as we all know, some of those genocides have a very, very strong German history. Germans played a very strong and very, very fateful and sad and tragic part in this. Not only in Rwanda, and Tali, I have to thank you personally for that, because the narrative of what the Germans did in Rwanda when Germany was a colonial power in Rwanda, what led up to the genocide in the early 90s, was something that I wasn't aware of before coming to South Africa. But of course, also with the genocide, and I say this not lightly, but very clearly and consciously, also with the genocide on the Herero and Nama in what was Southwest Germany and now is Namibia. Germans have a lot of trouble with juxtaposing the Holocaust and other crimes against humanity and other crimes against genocide. There's this constant fear of making the uniqueness of the Holocaust not as unique as it should be. The German word is Relativierung des Holocaust. This is almost something that we fear. We fear this in a public debate, and we fear this in the practice of museums. We fear this in all sorts of discussions, and it's not something you do lightly. So I felt, let's try this, because I feel personally and professionally that Tali succeeds in doing this. She succeeds in telling this tragic story of the Holocaust as a very unique event in human history, but she also puts the Holocaust in a greater context, in a context of human psychology, of politics, of colonialism, of everything that needs to be told to explain, in a way, the Holocaust better than it would be explained if it stood alone. Another element in the nomination obviously was that with the Holocaust and Genocide Center in Johannesburg, Tali reaches out to all sorts of communities in this fractioned city of Johannesburg. By telling the story of genocides across history and across continents, and at the same time telling uniquely the story of the Holocaust, Tali reaches out to communities that would not be directly affected by the history of Holocaust, i.e. maybe the non-Jewish, the non-German population. By doing this and understanding her work, not as museal work, but as educational work, by emphasizing the function of the center as a center and not just a place of memory, but a place of active work, I was sure I could convince even the hardest and the toughest jury in Germany. Tali, it was an absolute pleasure to go on this journey with you. And of course, I believe it was for us at the Goethe-Institut in difficult times with you an honor to be part of the Goethe Award Medal. You will see something about that. And I need to stress that it doesn't happen every day that the German foreign minister, who in the end finances everything that we do, was present during this award ceremony on the 28th of August, 2022. So Tali, from my side, and I've said that many times, congratulations again. You've done us proud. Hopefully we've done our bit to, well, make you even more popular in South Africa and more known in Germany. The media results and the media echo was overwhelming. I remember very clearly on the Saturday prior to the procedure when we got that printed paper of the Taz, and you had a double-page spread in a printed paper in Germany. With the crisis of media and especially printed media, believe me, Tali, it's not something that happens every day. I thank everyone for the invitation, and once again, congratulations, Tali. And I think it's such a wonderful and heartwarming idea to have such an event a few months after the award medal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Klaus, and hopefully the load shedding won't be too tough for you. I'm now going to ask Kath Catherine Boyd, who's the Education Manager at the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, to, I guess, formally welcome and introduce Tali, who will give a presentation about her trip. Thanks, Kath.
Thank you, Mary, and really the entire team at the Durban Holocaust and Genocide Center for putting this evening's event and celebration together. Thank you also to staff and members of the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Center who are here tonight, as well as the many friends and family and colleagues who, as you already said, are joining us from all over the globe and really joining us to mark this great honor. So, yeah, I'm the education manager at the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, but really tonight I'm representing all of the staff at the JHGC, as well as our trustees, our amazing group of volunteers, guides, our survivors, and all our JHGC members. And really, even beyond that, I'm representing this amazing community that is connected to and through the JHGC. So this community has been built around our center over the last 14 years since its founding in 2008, but really has grown over the years, and particularly in the last 3 years since our official opening in 2019. So Tali, from all of us, I would like to say just how proud we are of you and of this achievement that is so well deserved. And all of us that are connected to the JHGC are privileged to share in and benefit from your immense knowledge and understanding of the Holocaust and genocide, to witness your unstoppable energy and passion for education and your incredible vision that has not only shaped the JHGC, but all of us that are privileged to work with you and alongside you. So others have mentioned already your international lectures, your many articles and book chapters, your multiple awards and accolades. But really from those who work with you on a day-to-day basis, just to honor someone who really leads by example, always with kindness, with generosity, and with an unbelievable amount of energy. So really just, yeah, looking forward to many years of working with you. Tali, over to you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, dear Klaus. And thank you to each one of you that came here. I'm looking at the list of friends from all over South Africa, but all over the world, US, Mauritius, Austria, Germany, Kosovo, really from all over the world. And I'm feeling so emotional and so touched. Thank you so much for putting this together, Mary, Myra, Richard, Heather, everyone from the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation. I'm not taking it for granted. It really is very, very, very moving for me. And what I thought I would do with you is, Klaus already told you, and thank you, Klaus, for sharing some of those, processes of how it all happened. I'm going to sort of take you behind the scenes. And Klaus, I remember that phone call in November of 2021. And I was thinking, Klaus invited me for a Zoom with a good friend, Francois Venter from the Goethe-Institut, and I thought, I wonder what it is about. It must be a project that they want to do together, and I'm excited always about a new project. And then Klaus, breaks the news that the jury, the judges, chose me as the next recipient in 2022. But he said, but it is a secret and you cannot tell anyone. And I said, what do you mean? It's November 2021. When is the ceremony? And he said, August 2022. And I thought, 10 months? I'm not supposed to tell anyone? And he said, all right, you can tell your family, you can tell your colleagues, but really no one else. And Klaus, I'm happy to tell you, I did not tell anyone else. And only in May of 2022, when the news broke, then of course the news broke and we all knew what happened. So I prepared a little PowerPoint presentation to take you through this journey of a week plus a few days in Vienna, and I will start the sharing because I think it's just wonderful to see this process as I was telling you about it. Of course, Klaus spoke about women not being there in the years of the John Le Carré and the Imre Kertész, I think, even won this award. I mean, I looked at the list and it was men, 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 men. And I was proud to be with the two other women recipients from India, the Sandbox Collective theatre production and art production team, and then, of course, the wonderful Muhammad Abla, a visual artist from Egypt. And in a way, it was such an honor that in May this year, when it came out, and I found out that I now can tell the world to be in such glorious company. So I need to tell you that in addition to the medal, the beautiful medal that I'll share with you in a few minutes, the Goethe-Institut also organized a wonderful, almost a week, 5-6 days of what they called a networking tour. Klaus, thank you for all your help to really hone down of who do I want to meet, what themes I want to explore. And for me, it was very clear that for me, I'm interested, of course, in Holocaust and genocide, scholarship, memory, history, but I'm really interested to explore East Germany, what was the GDR or DDR. I'm really interested to explore Jewish life, then and now, Holocaust, memory, as I said, but also issues of today. What are some of the challenges, and specifically the rise of the extreme right? And these were the things that I wanted to do. And then Klaus and the wonderful people in the Goethe-Institut helped to put an itinerary together that was extremely empowering and amazing. And it was so different because from the word go, as I landed in Berlin, this wonderful man on the left, Christian, met me at the airport. I must say, I felt like a VIP all the way through. I was looked after, I was taken, I was chaperoned, I was dined. I was really, it was a wonderful, warm, and very loving experience. Christian, who has a doctorate in Chinese studies, was a wonderful companion. He took me all around East Germany, according to my itinerary. He helped me with translations. He assisted with the press meetings and interviews. And on the right, you see one of those photographs in a photo shootout in Berlin for the press. So I was really put into a situation that I was not used to. It was very, very new to me. And I think that my colleagues and friends that you're all here, you recognize that I didn't wear anything different than what I usually wear. And I still wore my very beloved Birkenstocks. And this was the picture that went into the media in Germany. And then the journey, and I'll go through very, very quickly some of the highlights of the journey that took me to Weimar and to this highlight of the Goethe Medal looked like. Starting in Berlin, of course, with the memorials, of course, with the Roma memorial, the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe, and other memorials, but then with amazing, amazing meetings, from meeting the expert on the Roma and Sinti genocide, and learning about the fact that this memorial that you see on the top left is now being extended, actually just opened or opening now in Berlin, to include stories, individual stories of Roma and Sinti, because the feeling was that the memorial was very moving. It told the story of a community that was destroyed, but it did not tell the story of individuals. And that was really important. And that meeting was really important for me. I also met experts about Jewish studies in Germany from the Moses Mendelssohn Centrum in Potsdam. I had the opportunity to go to where the Potsdam Conference took place, and you see that picture in the center, and to sort of relive history as we see war in Europe, to reflect on Stalin and Truman, and on Churchill, and then Churchill lost the election, and so on and so forth, and to think about the atom bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki that happened there while the Potsdam Conference was happening. So it was so interesting to be there in August and think about Russia and Ukraine and Ethiopia and all that is happening in our world today. I had probably the most interesting meeting in Berlin with an expert on right-wing extremism from Thuringia, where the alarming figures of support to the right wing in that state being, in his opinion, up to maybe 26% of the population, and about the alarming statistics about the uniting of the right-wing fringes. So that started me from the first and second day on this thoughtful journey of past history, memory of history, and then the challenges that Germany is facing today, but that the world is facing today. I, of course, left Berlin and Potsdam and asked to visit the DDR, the places that I never visited before. And I visited first Dresden for a day and a night, and visited many sites, but I want to speak maybe about 2 or 3 highlights for me. The one highlight, of course, was to see this rebuilt city. This idea of rebuilding a city and creating exactly the same, sort of the city before it was destroyed, is of course known to many of us. Warsaw, for example, the old city of Warsaw, was rebuilt in the 1950s, exactly the same as it was before it was destroyed during the Warsaw uprising of 1944. But in Dresden, because we know so much about Dresden, it was very clear. And I put 2 pictures for you here, a photo of the ruined city in exactly the same places as they are rebuilt. And we had lots of meetings and walking tours, again, meeting with a grassroots immigrants or migrant refugees NGO that does amazing work around right-wing extremism. But then I had the honor to go to, and it was a request of mine, to go to the Daniel Libeskind addition to the National Military Museum of Germany. And when you think about the National Military Museum in Germany, you think, oh my goodness, how will they tell this story? I mean, what story do you tell within this fantastic new and old museum? By the way, the old part that always belonged to the German military before the Second World War, during the Second World War, after the Second World War, during the GDR, was actually not damaged in the bombing of Dresden. It's sort of outside of the city center. And you see the Daniel Libeskind addition, the lines are familiar, the edges are familiar. And I put in the middle the themes of the museum, but maybe let me tell you a little bit, because I had a great honor to have the main curator of the Second World War story or history taking me around. And it was a long journey. many hours because it was a fascinating museum. I will recommend to everyone to go to the Military Museum in Dresden, and indeed to go to Dresden. And why was it such an interesting museum? Because I mean, when they had to recreate this museum, and it's relatively new, it's just a few years old, they had to ask themselves, how do you tell the story in Dresden? How do you tell the story of German military history there? And they decided to tell the story through the theme of love and hate. The whole story is told through the theme of love and hate. And you go into wings that are speaking about war and children's games, child's play, from toy guns and from video games to child soldiers and so on, and how we all grow up on that idea of war, romanticizing war. There is a wing about war and fashion, how in our theme of fashion, how war becomes part of, of design and so on, and war and animals and so on. And then, of course, there is an exhibition about the different wars, and a very, very good exhibition about the Second World War, including a very moving a memorial and panels and artifacts and maps and testimonies about the Holocaust, about the Shoah. So it was a very important visit, and really I would recommend for everyone to go and see that museum. From there, I continued to Leipzig. Leipzig had a really interesting visits for me, because I explored Jewish history of the city. I explored the musical history of the city. You see Wagner, of course, Bach, Mendelssohn, so much is from Leipzig. I explored Holocaust history. You see the two memorials, actually. One is in the center of Leipzig, where all the shops are, in the center of your picture. Something about Kristallnacht, something about Jewish families, that their properties was taken. And then on the right-hand side, you see a very moving memorial of one of the synagogues that was destroyed in Kristallnacht, in the November pogrom. And that is symbolized by empty chairs and by sort of a scheme. You can see the lines of how big the synagogue was and how central that synagogue was. But of course, it was destroyed, and together with the synagogue, the majority of the Leipzig community was destroyed. So that was very, very moving. And a walking tour of the Jewish presence, the important Jewish presence in Leipzig, was also eye-opening. We also went to the university, which is one of the most promising universities in Germany today. Lots of young people, and it was really interesting to meet also representation of the mayor of Leipzig, which had a wonderful discussion about where now, what is happening now and into the future. And maybe just finally, one of the interesting meetings was with social workers and psychologists that are working with the victims that were targeted by right-wing extremists, including killing of homeless people, targeting of the Jewish community of Leipzig, targeting of refugees and migrants, and just hearing how the state is investing in giving care and looking after the families that are targeted by those extreme groups was a very, very interesting experience indeed. Lastly, before I arrived in Weimar, my last visit before Weimar was in Erfurt. Erfurt, of course, is the capital city of Thuringia. Leipzig is in Saxony. Dresden and Erfurt are in Thuringia or Turing. And the city is a beautiful city. Again, recommend fully for people to go and visit. And I chose few pictures that you can see the beauty of the city, including the one on the right with the Ukrainian flag. By the way, the Ukrainian flag is everywhere in Germany, and I wanted to show you that. But I actually started in this museum on the left-hand side, in this synagogue, sorry, on the left-hand side, down in your picture. This is a synagogue of the Jewish community of Erfurt, only about 800 of them. Only 15 Jews survived Theresienstadt to come back to Erfurt. They started to rebuild the community during the GDR time, and they attracted other Jews to come there, including, of course, in the last years, 20 years or so, many from the former Soviet Union. But this synagogue was built during the DDR. It was built actually in 1952, one of the only ones built during Stalin. It's unbelievable. And it is a community that is an interesting community. They have a rabbi. I met the rabbi, met a Holocaust survivor that lives there. And it was a very, very moving experience. At the same time, above it, on your top left, you see a synagogue from 1094. This is one of the oldest synagogues in Europe, 1094, around the Crusades time. And that synagogue was unbelievable to see. The city of Erfurt is trying to receive a UNESCO heritage status. I do hope they will get it, because this is unbelievable. And in the center of your picture is the mikveh, the old mikveh, the baths, the ritual baths of the Jews. And I went down, down, down into the cave, couldn't even take pictures, it's so dark, but this is on the river, and it was absolutely amazing. But that visit in Erfurt ended with an unforgettable visit, and that is on your top middle picture, and that is the museum in the original house where the company of Topf and Sonne, the builders of the crematoriums of Auschwitz, Buchenwald, Mauthausen, Gross-Rosen, and many more, did their job. There was a camp in that area. At the moment, there's only this one building with an excellent exhibition. I met one of the curators there, and the exhibition tells the story of those two sons, two brothers, the Topf brothers, who were really responsible as desk killers, if you wish, for not only the creation, the invention and creations of the crematorium, but also the invention and creation of the vents in the gas chambers of Auschwitz-Birkenau. And it proves beyond doubt in that museum that not only all of them knew what they're doing, but they visited Auschwitz, for example, or Buchenwald, which is only a few kilometers away from where the building stands, on a weekly basis, because there were many, many, many problems, and they had to solve the problems. They were in touch with the SS, close contact with the SS, and that was an unbelievable tour. And specifically, it was an unbelievable visit, because the next day I went to Buchenwald. I arrived already in Weimar. It was my last visit before the Goethe Medal. And of course, it was my first time visiting Buchenwald. I visited many, many other sites before. But Buchenwald was of interest, of course, to me, because many of the survivors that we know survived Buchenwald, including some of the Johannesburg survivors like Shlomo Peipsch and others, while others did not. Luke Albinski's grandfather, for example, was murdered in Buchenwald. Irene Feynman and Don Krause's father was murdered in Buchenwald. And here on the left-hand side, you see the stamp of Tov and Sonne, proudly on the crematoriums of Buchenwald. And that was a very, very stark reminder of memory work and of connecting between sites and between narratives and between stories. That was the end of the networking tour, and then I got to Weimar. Weimar, the beautiful city of Goethe and Schiller. You see it in front of the theater on the left-hand side in the bottom picture. And thank you again to the Goethe-Institut for organizing absolutely a beautiful room for us, program for us. I spoke in the theater of Weimar. I was on a wonderful panel as part of the cultural festival that went on through the city at that time. There was also a wine festival, as you can see in the middle of your screen. And also I had a chance to walk around in the city and to see, for example, historical sites as the building where the Weimar Republic was born, you know, after the First World War, or to see the Soviet military cemetery. That is really quite interesting to see this, you know, all the symbols of communism and of the Soviet Union, and see all the graves of those died for the liberation of Weimar, and then citizens that came into the city, to the cemetery, and put little flags of Ukraine on the graves, and little sort of anti-war symbols of doves and so on in the same cemetery. So that in itself was fantastic. As I said, the program was really, really amazing. And that panel organized with the fantastic historians, the head of the Fritz Bauer Institute and the former head of the Buchenwald Memorial, as you see in the picture, was absolutely fantastic. Then the day arrived, the day of the award. The award happened at 11 o'clock that morning of the Sunday, the 28th of August. And I want to start by just mentioning that I'm not taking it for granted, but family and friends came to support me, from my dear husband, Clive, my daughter, Kim, that were with me, to David Fine from our board of trustees, to partners from Rosa Luxemburg Foundation that came from Berlin, friends from the Foreign Office, Anita, that used to be the deputy ambassador here in Pretoria. She came from Berlin. Jan Leidecker came from Geneva with his husband, and many, many others. Luke Albinski came from Johannesburg, and others. And I really, really appreciated it. It was sort of playing to a home crowd in a way, and that was really, really special. You see here already the medal is peeping, and I have a background, so you will not be able to really see the medal, but I will try. But this is the medal, and you will see many more pictures of that medal. The ceremony was really moving, and I wanted to show you how it all was set up, and it was really a moving ceremony. As Klaus said, to have the foreign minister there giving a speech that I'm going to quote now from was unbelievable. There was a film created by Deutsche Welle, 6 7 minutes film about each one of us. And just now I'll give you a link and you can watch it online. There were many speeches by, of course, different people. The president of the Goethe-Institut, Carola Lentz, of course, also spoke, and many others. But maybe let me move to the next picture, and in between those two pictures, I'm going to tell you what the foreign minister said about Veronica Phillips. Of course, they asked me to share some stories about the work we do in South Africa. And that story of about Veronica Phillips, the late Veronica Phillips, that died, of course, sadly at the age of 94 in February of last year, captured the imagination of Annalena Baerbock, the foreign minister of Germany. And here is a short part of her words. She said, "We will hear from you in more detail in a moment, but I would like to describe 3 examples that show that you are not only receiving this medal, but that you are giving strength to your societies and leaving a little bit of that strength here with us today in Weimar and thus in Germany." Tali, you told us the story of Veronica Phillips. Mrs. Phillips' father was murdered in the Holocaust. She herself survived 3 concentration camps as a child. After a long escape, she emigrated to, after a long period, she emigrated to Johannesburg, South Africa. And only in the last years of her own life did she then decide to tell her story. This is also one of the great challenges for us worldwide. When people come to the end of their lives, their story is no longer told by them, but who can carry it on now? It is people like you who make it possible that the story of Veronica Phillips has not been lost, but that her story continues to be told, namely in the Holocaust and Genocide Center, which you run and to which Mrs. Phillips donated a doll. And I believe that this too is an expression of what this is all about, people. And in case of doubt, also about dolls. And everyone laughed at that stage, as you can imagine, because how can a story be better passed on than through what is most important to a child, next to its parents, that which you can hold very close to your heart. This doll, which is now on display in your Genocide Center, is the doll that Veronica Phillips left with her mother in the Budapest ghetto, and then got back after her escape. Then when she saw, let me just close and I'll reopen because I see a line. So I'll continue and I'll reopen in a minute. Then when she saw this doll in your exhibit many years later, she cried and said, "Now people will remember me. My story will live on." Everyone in this room who has children knows that when you walk through the museum and then you see such a long list of names and numbers, sometimes you might pass by, you might not be focused yourself. But when your own child stops and says, "Mom, that doll looks like my doll. Why is that doll here in this museum?" Then numbers become people again, and then the story can be carried forward. And that, dear Talinates, that is the value of your work, that you not only exhibit, but that you want to touch, you contribute to the preservation of the memory of the Holocaust, of other terrible genocides that people remember, so that never again does not remain an empty phrase. The stories you tell can change people. And I think you agree with me that this is a very powerful speech. And just know that I translated it from German. She, of course, spoke in German, but hopefully this all made sense to you. So let me start again. And so that was, of course, very, very moving. And then, of course, the ceremony itself, the happiness, the feeling of elation, the speeches, the film, as I said. And I was asked then to say a few words. And I will not read to you my whole speech, but I think there are 2 paragraphs that I would like to share with you. I want to tell you that the medal was received on the 28th of August. Klaus already shared with you, and this date is extremely meaningful to me. And I shared the following paragraph. I'm immensely honored and humbled to receive the Goethe Medal in Germany, especially as I'm speaking today as a daughter of a Holocaust survivor, Moses Turner, born in Novi Targ, Poland, who survived 6 concentration camps and who, with his brother Henrik, was rescued by Oskar Schindler as part of what is now known as Schindler's List. The rest of the family, including my grandmother, Eleonora, Leah, and my aunts, Hela and Zilla Turner, were murdered in the Belzec killing center on the 28th of August, 1942, exactly 80 years ago today. My father's history played an important role in my life's work and in the founding of the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, which is, in a way, a legacy for those who were murdered and for those who survived. I then ended by saying, as we witness wars and human suffering in our wounded world today, recognizing that through learning lessons about human behavior, the concept of othering, about dilemmas, choices, and their consequences should allow us to make these connections faster. My sincere gratitude for this symbolic acknowledgement, recognizing the importance of confronting painful pasts with the hope that our present and future can become more just for all. So you understand the symbolism of the date, and it was very, very moving. By the way, Kim, my daughter, was also born on the 28th of August. So that date is just unbelievable, and the way it all worked out was unbelievable. So you see the medal, you see the other recipient, you see the happiness, you see Klaus, you see Carola Lentz giving me the certificate and the medal. And then I love the picture on the top left, because what foreign minister will agree to a selfie? And this is the kind of foreign minister that came and gave us her time and spoke to us and spent the whole time in the ceremony, more than 2 hours. And that was absolutely unbelievable. Just to end, this is a link to the film, the 7 minutes film in Deutsche Welle. You can just Google, just put DW Tali and it will, or Goethe Medal or something, and you will see it. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. They use drones, they use interviews with Irene Klaas, our survivor, and with the teacher, and with students and staff members. Du is there, and it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. And as Klaus said, the media, I mean, it was actually unbelievable, because the amount of media coverage that I got in radio, in TV, in newspapers. And Klaus, do you remember we staged that picture on the right-hand side? We sat in a cafe and they got me all the newspapers, and I sort of staged a, wow, I'm here. And it was really a fun picture. And just was very, very humbled, very honored for the coverage and the interest and the difficult questions, because many asked difficult questions about South Africa, about racism, about memory, about histories side by side, and so on, because there is a debate in Germany at the moment about how to speak about the Holocaust. And colonialism, and that was important to speak about. So that was fantastic. So that all finished on the 29th of August, and as I end, I wanted to end with my trip, of course, to Vienna, and that is the last picture. I know our time ran out. I was so honored to be invited by the Austrian Service Abroad, by Andreas Masslinger and with Daniel Schuster, to be, first of all, part of the fantastic conference about 30 years of Austrian service abroad. And many of you recognize James Smith, Stephen Smith's brother, who is in the middle together with Sarah Lustig, one of the speakers, and of course Hannah Lessing, that many of you know very, very well, and myself, and Avi Blumenfeld. That you know, it was an amazing panel, and fantastic conference. And then the culmination really of the whole week, and I don't have too much time to tell about it, but I'm happy that Daniel shared a little bit about it in his message through Mary in the beginning of this hour. I think the time in Parliament, to be there with Jane Jossam from the Melbourne Holocaust Museum, with Dani Dayan from Yad Vashem, with Rabbi Cooper from the Simon Wiesenthal Museum of Tolerance in LA and Simon Wiesenthal Center, with on screen only, not in person, Deborah Lipstadt, that will come to South Africa soon and will speak for the South African Jewish Board of Deputies for their conference, and at Kristallnacht for the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation. And then, of course, to have the youngsters, the interns that we all know and love, like the interns that are now in Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg from the Austrian Service Abroad, and to have one that was in Cape Town, Holocaust and Genocide Center, and one that was at the Auschwitz Jewish Center. Tome Kunsevich was also with us from the Auschwitz Jewish Center. Sorry, I forgot to mention him. And to have the honor to speak about the trip with the Austrian young candidates to the service abroad to Poland in July, and to speak about our work in South Africa, in Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg, and to meet the President of Parliament that is in the picture on the top left, and have the opportunity to engage with him and to exchange ideas about anti-Semitism, about memory, and about the importance of the involvement of youth, second, third, fourth generation, in what we try to build today. So that was the culmination of an amazing week, amazing honor to speak in Parliament, to meet all those fantastic people, and to represent South Africa in the Austrian Parliament. So I will close my screen, and thank you for coming with me for a half-an-hour tour around Germany and Austria in what was absolutely unbelievably and unforgettable event that could not have happened without the support of everyone from the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation, from the boards, from the friends, from the donors, from the staff, from the volunteers, from the members, and from all the friends from around the world. So that is a little bit of my my experiences. Thank you.
Wonderful, Tali. I'm going to hand over to Richard. As I said earlier, the idea was to honor you and to hear from you. And I think that all of us have had an unbelievable experience in listening to you. So I want to ask Richard to make the closing remarks. Just to say, we will send you the comments in the chat, because there are wonderful comments, and you will receive all of those wonderful messages of COVID and congratulations. Richard, please.
And in fact, Tali, I was going to say that all these comments are like a round of applause for you. And I wish we could have had this event live, because I'm quite sure there would have been a standing ovation for you. We are so proud of you and all you've done. Thank you for the wonderful taking us on that journey with you now. We really felt like we were there. You highlighted all these important museums and initiatives which you bring back into South Africa. And I think that is the wonderful thing about this award. And I want to thank the Goethe-Institut and Klaus particularly for having pushed for this and having had this initiative, because what it does for us here in the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation centers for Holocaust education in South Africa, for remembrance in South Africa, for the whole educational enterprise in South Africa, is to bring us into the world stage through you, and to bring the world to us. And all I can say is, may that long continue. May you continue to be the inspiration that so many people say you are, and you are. And may you take Holocaust education and Holocaust remembrance and genocide awareness and all the issues that you've referenced in this this evening, may you take those into the work that you do for us. And I know that we will all benefit from having you at the helm, so to speak. And we are incredibly grateful that you have this award, but more importantly, incredibly grateful that you are ours. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Mazel tov, congratulations, and may you go from strength to strength.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you, Tali, for that beautiful journey. I'm sure that everybody will agree we've had a very special evening. Looking forward to working with you tomorrow. So special that we have, as Richard says, that we have you batting for us and on our team. Very proud. Thank you all for joining us for this very special hour. Have a lovely evening and hopefully not too much load shedding. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.